Hello and welcome to the Dungeon Dad 2023 Gen Con haul / wrap-up video. I don't know exactly what the title of this video is going to be. I'll tell you what this video is. It's going to be essentially me going over all the stuff I picked up at Gen Con, all the new games, RPGs, and other random stuff that I got while I was there, and explaining what I think looks cool, what I like about them, and giving some recommendations, I guess, for stuff that you might want to consider checking out yourself. What this video is not going to be is a review. Some of these products I might go a little more in depth with if you guys have interest in learning more about them, but I'm not going to be doing like an in-depth review of everything that I got, because when I got home and like lined everything up on my kitchen table to look at it all, to take a picture for this video, you're looking at it right now, I realized I'd spent way too much money and got way too many things while I was there. So, like I said, let me know in the comments if you see anything you want a more in-depth review on, but short of that, this is going to be just a kind of quick going through everything and talking about it. So the first thing I want to talk about, I got the new Dungeons & Dragons Bigby Presents Glory of the Giants book. This I did not pay for. This was given to me by the lovely folks over at Wizards of the Coast. Shout out to Dixon. It's a neat book. I haven't really had a chance to look through the whole thing yet, but this is the fancy alt art cover version where you can see Bigby playing some giant chess there, all the chess pieces on the back. Yeah, I might do a full in-depth review of this book. I haven't done a lot of reviews on D&D products pretty well ever. That's never been my thing on this channel. I have a lot of opinions about this book, specifically to do with Death Giants. I threw up a poll on the main channel asking if people are interested in that, so I don't know. Maybe you'll see a video on the main channel go up in the near future about Death Giants, because I'm very upset about the Death Giants and how they were handled in this book, but that's neither here nor there. Overall, it seems to be very nice. There's some good adventures and stuff in there, but you guys already know about D&D. If you watch my channel, you probably already knew this book was coming out, so that's nothing fancy. Let's move on to some of the stuff you guys may not be aware of. I'm going to first, I think, start off show you some of the board games that I picked up while I was there. All right, so the first one we have here is DORF ROMATIK, the board game. This game is very neat. I like to play a lot of cooperative games. My partner, Mallory, some of you guys might know her as Zero Doxy around the internet. Her and I love to play cooperative board games together, and this game is pretty dang cool. Basically, if you've ever played the video game DORF ROMATIK, it's very similar to that. You're kind of putting down these tiles, and they all have 6 sides, and you want to line up sides that match with one another. So you want your wheat fields to match, you want your houses to match, etc., etc. I can actually, hold on, if I can open this. So these aren't punched out yet because this literally is brand new, but you can see you have all these different tiles here. I'll pop one out right now just for fun. But yeah, you have all these different tiles here that this one has forest on all the edges, and it looks like, yeah, there's a couple guys chilling at a campfire there. That's nice. Anyways, you have all these different tiles, and you want to kind of match them up together to score points, and you do that cooperatively by going around the table, taking turns. And what's cool... That was the box, I swear. And what's cool about this game is it is a legacy board game, which essentially means as you play it, you unlock more parts of the board game. So you'll see there's like this scoring sheet, and you start at the very bottom and you go all the way up through, and as you reach new high scores, you'll eventually get to different thresholds, which will allow you to access these little packs. And each one of these packs, there are new tiles. So the whole idea being, when you reach certain thresholds, like, oh, you've managed to break 100 points, now you get this new box of tiles, which gives you more pieces to play with. So as you kind of are going and increasing your score, you're getting more parts of the game, making the game more complex, more strategic. And that's very cool. And also all the tiles that are in these little packets are labeled, like which packet they're from. So this sheet that I just showed you, there's actually a bunch of different sheets here. They're all the same, but there's tons of them, so you can have multiple kind of campaigns going at the same time. And I think that's extremely cool. I think that's really neat. I love games with mechanics like that. The only game I've ever owned that was a legacy game is Legacy Risk, which I don't know if that started the trend. I don't think it did, but it's definitely one of the more popular legacy games out there. So yeah, if you're a fan of the video game, or you just like chill cooperative, it's basically Catan, but like on co-op mode. If that sounds cool to you, I would recommend checking it out. I'm very excited to play this game. I was fortunate enough to actually get to demo this one with Sarah, also known as the Hype Goblin, online. We played it together, and we did pretty good, I think. So, anyways, check it out. I also just wanted to say, to kind of put this out there, none of these products, aside from the D&D book at the beginning, were received for free. I paid for all of these things. This is not like an endorsement video or a sponsored video. This is just me showing you guys what I bought. If I didn't think it was cool, wouldn't be talking about it. All right, so the next game I want to talk about is another board game called Familiar Tales. This game is very cool. I'm just gonna read to you what's on the back of the box here because it will do a much better job of articulating what this game is actually about than I could put into my own words. So it says, Familiar Tales, a story crafting game. Magical creatures vie for the fate of a child. In the far-off kingdom of Principalia, dark forces have displaced the royal family. One by one, all royals have been waylaid, until only a wee infant, the heir to the throne, remains. Now, a wizard's beloved familiars are all that stand between the life of an innocent babe and a sorceress would-be usurper, as an entire kingdom holds its breath in fear. So, this is a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players. You can play it solo. There's a solo mode, which I think is neat. I think board games should have that, because God knows it's hard to organize a group of adults sometimes to play board games. We've all been there. And this game is, first of all, it's cute as hell. All right, so the whole idea being you play as one of these wizard familiars, and you are trying to keep this princess safe. However, it's not just a matter of keeping her alive and protecting her from like the dark forces of this evil sorcerer. You also need to do things to raise her so that, you know, she doesn't become all fucked up and traumatized like most of us millennials do by the time she is an adult, so that when she actually becomes an adult and is able to sit on the throne, she, you know, she's like a good ruler. This is also the game that we bought that I know the least about, because I didn't actually get a chance to demo this one personally. Mallory went and picked this one up off the floor while I was playing Dragonbane. I think I was in a Dragonbane demo, which we'll get to. But yeah, all I really have to say about this is it's like a cooperative, cool deck building game that looks super cute, and it's got a bunch of really awesome miniatures as part of it as well. And I'm a huge sucker for miniatures. I'm looking forward to painting these guys and checking it out, and I might do a more in-depth video about this one in the future. I don't know. But yeah, Familiar Tales. It looks very good. All right, so the next board game, if you even want to call it that, I don't know. Is a puzzle considered a board game, or do we think that's its own thing? I don't know. It's a puzzle. This was another thing Mallory picked up. She's a big puzzle nerd. I'm excited to do it with her, and it is based off of the board game Villainous, which, if you've never played, is a very cool board game. This is the Rapunzel-themed one. Yeah, it's a dope puzzle from Ravensburger Games. You know what a puzzle is. It's cool. I like it. Moving on. Now we're going to talk about some RPGs, and which is what I'm sure most of you are here for. The first one I wanted to talk about actually is Dragonsbane. However, I didn't get a chance to buy it at GenCon because by the time I went to go do that after our playtest was over, they were already sold out. So I ordered a copy of it, which is on its way. I hope to play it on the channel a little bit at some point. But yeah, so Dragonsbane I can't really show you. I'll put up some images of what it looks like. You may or may not have heard about this game, but it is a very old school role-playing inspired game over from Europe. It's been around for a long time, but recently it's been revived by my beloved Free League publishers because basically, they just picked up the license of this old school RPG, revived it, gave it a bunch of new awesome artwork. I got a chance to play this game at GenCon with Mr. Dragonbane himself. And yeah, it was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it. And it seems like it'll be a really cool alternative to Dungeons and Dragons, but still kind of scratches the same itch. So if you're looking for some medieval fantasy kind of stuff that is a little bit different, I would recommend this system. It uses a really interesting mechanic where basically all of your skill checks and your attack rolls and everything, you are trying to roll below the number. So say you have a 12 in axes and you want to make an attack with your great axe. You roll your d20 and you want to roll a 12 or lower. And the reason that's so interesting is because you know if you succeed right away. You're not trying to hit like an armor class. You're making your roll, and then you tell the DM, I succeeded or I failed. And I think that's just really neat. It helps streamline combat, and also just like puzzle solving in general were streamlined in a really interesting way when we played this system, because, you know, there was no like, I rolled a 10. Does that succeed? DM has to check their stuff. Yes, that succeeds. No, that doesn't succeed. You just say, I passed, I failed. That was really neat. That's kind of the biggest difference. There's lots of other little mechanical things, but yeah, it's a cool game with a low magic setting. And if that sounds cool to you, I would highly recommend checking it out. I wish I had something physical to show you, but I can assure you, having played it myself, all of the stuff physically that comes, like the DM screen and the dice and all that stuff that comes with the Ultimate package, is very high quality, very cool, and I'm excited to actually get my own copy when it arrives in the mail. Next up, we're going to talk about a game that I have had my eye on for a very long time. I missed the Kickstarter, but they were at GenCon, so I got to buy all the stuff from them, and that is the Avatar. This is a bag. This isn't working out as well as I thought it would. The Avatar role-playing game. I'm going to just give you a quick rundown of everything that I bought, which is what comes in their, like, Ultimate Deluxe Backer Kit version or whatever, and then I will kind of explain a little bit about the game. So first off, we've got our super fancy schmancy core rulebook. Oh my god, this is reflecting in the light like crazy because it is kind of holographic. We've got Korra on that side, Aang on this side, looking badass. It's a thick ass book. Essentially, that core book is everything you need to play the game. It's all of it. However, there is another book, which is Wan Shi Tong's Adventure Guide. This is kind of like another gazetteer book. So there's more stuff. There's more player options. There's more stat blocks. There's more adventures. All kinds of just content for the game. It's basically like a less dense version of that because it doesn't have the base game rules in it. It's just new content to kind of add on to the already existing stuff. As part of this, we also have 5 notebooks. These are very neat. They're literally just, I'll show you the inside, blank ass notebooks that you can use for taking notes, drawing pictures, whatever. There's one for each of the 4 kingdoms and one of the Avatar, I guess. And it says Avatar Legends on the back. Very cool. I just realized, for people who are watching this that aren't familiar with Avatar, The Last Airbender or The Legend of Korra, it's a TV show. It's like an American-made, anime-inspired show that is heavily inspired, like, aesthetically and mythologically, by, I guess, all sorts of different cultures, really, but mostly, like, Chinese culture and that kind of thing. It's a very cool setting, a very cool world, and all of the artwork for it is, like, fantastic. And also, something worth mentioning, for those of you who are fans of the show, is the original artist from the show came back to do a lot of, if not all of the artwork for this book. So, that's pretty cool. But we'll get into that in a second. The other thing that came with this, I have a map. It's like this cool little cloth map. Let me unfold this. We got a map, baby! These are your 4 kingdoms in the world of Avatar. On a map. So, that's neat. It's a cloth map. It's really high quality. I know some cloth maps, like stuff you get with pre-order bonuses for video games and stuff, tend to be kind of shitty. This one is not. It is very high quality. And it came with a little White Lotus tile that you can use for kind of marking where the party's at and stuff. And I have that in a dice bag, which came with it as well, which is kind of neat. It's got all the different elemental kingdom symbols on it. And, of course, we need dice to go in our dice bag. So we have the dice pack. I haven't opened these guys yet. I'm going to do that right now. These are literally just D6s. There's nothing unique or special about them. I know they have that kind of alternate face on the front of them. Hold on a second. But yeah, that special face that shows, like, the kingdom symbol is your, that's the 6. But yeah, see, 1s, 4s, it's all just your standard, oh god, I'm gonna send these everywhere when I open them. That's my first complaint, the dice are too hard to open. Okay, there we go. You'll have to see it. Oh, fuck, shit! We'll close up on the Fire Kingdom one. Just a standard-ass D6. Got some marbling with the appropriately assigned color. And now I'm going to put those in the dice bag so I don't lose them forever. And we're going to seal that up. But yeah, they're very nice quality. They feel good. Nothing crazy. Just, you know, something to make you a little more immersed, I guess. And then lastly, we have the the combat action deck. This is not necessary to play the game. It's literally just a deck of cards that has all the different things your characters can do. So like, I know I keep using D&D as the analog, but it's the thing we're all the most familiar with. At least most of the people watching my channel are most familiar with. If you can kind of compare it to the like spell cards that you get for D&D. Like, you know, it'll write out everything that you have, so you can kind of keep, okay, these are the 10 things I can do, make a little pile. It's easier than looking at a character sheet and referencing the book every time you need to look something up. So that's everything that I got with this RPG. I guess I should also note that this is not what the core book normally looks like. This is the alternate cover. It's a little fancy. It doesn't give you any information, but it's got Aang and Korra looking badass. So yeah, this RPG uses the Powered by the Apocalypse system. It's a very cool system. If you're not super familiar with it, I'd recommend you check out one of the literally like hundreds of different games that use that system. It's a pretty cool system. It's elegant. I like it. Like I said, this isn't a full in-depth review of this product, but I will just say I like it a lot. We got to play test this. I had a ton of fun playing a firebending roguish character. I did that one with Sarah, the Hype Goblin as well, and Ted from Nerd Immersion actually, and he got to have like, what was it? It was a lizard mongoose or something like that as his companion, which was very cool. There's lots of neat rules. Basically, if you're a fan of the show and you like role-playing games, check this out. It's very fun, and it really nails that feeling of being a firebender or an earthbender or whatever element you choose to bend. Something I do think that was really neat as well is you can kind of go into like specific subclasses. Like for example, in our playtest, Sarah's character was an earthbender, but specifically they were a sandbender. So we were kind of in this like desert locale and they were able to use their sand bending to do a lot of neat stuff at the game table, which got us out of a couple rough situations. So there's a lot of love and care put into this book, clearly, and it's made by people who very obviously love the show. And what's really neat about it is you can play in different eras. So again, for people who are familiar with the show, obviously you know the original Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then the much later Legend of Korra, I think it's called. Yeah, it's the Legend of Korra. The Legend of Korra are in very different like timelines, not just literally that they're several years removed, but the world is very different. Like the Legend of Korra has technology and that kind of thing that doesn't exist in the original world of Avatar: The Last Airbender. So if you want to play in one of those two worlds, there's like a specific thing about like how that works. For example, one of the, I guess, classes, as you would probably want to call them, that exists in the Korra era is the Technomancer, I think they're called. Let me look it up. Maybe it's just Magitech. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Doesn't matter what it's called. The point is, there is a specific class that is built around using technology, but you can only play that class if you are playing in an era that is the Korra era or beyond. There are 5 different eras in this book, which is really neat. You have, like, of course, the Aang era and the Korra era, but you can also play in the 100-year war era, which is kind of a time where, like, you know, there isn't an Avatar. The Avatar's presence is not as well known because Aang was taking a big old nap. And then they've also got rules for playing in the Kyoshi era or the Roku era, which are 2 of the previous Avatars that we don't really see super fleshed out in the shows. There's all kinds of comics and books and stuff that get a little bit more into Kyoshi's stuff, but Roku, good old Avatar Roku, doesn't have a lot of his own stuff. Like, they don't really get into his lore in any of the existing media beyond just kind of surface level things. But what's cool about this is they were kind of given carte blanche to do whatever they wanted within reason with the Roku era. So there's a bunch of original Avatar lore that also doesn't exist outside the game that you can find in this book. I know I said I wasn't going to make this a review, and I feel like I'm getting into review territory, so I'm going to shut up before I spend like way too long talking about this specific RPG and have to make a separate video about it. But yeah, it's cool. If you like the show, check out the RPG. I like the show, so I bought the RPG. All right, it's time for a dice break. I didn't buy a ton of dice at this convention because I have so many dice. We all have so many dice. I need to restrain myself, but I did get a couple sets and I want to show them to you because I think they're very neat. So the first one is these guys. They don't look like anything crazy. I mean, they're cool. They're purple with gold numbers on them, but I want to show you something neat. So these are from Fanroll Dice, and these dice are actually, if I can get this open here, entirely silicone based, and they're like sort of rubbery. I don't know if you're going to be able to just read this on the camera. You can kind of see they have a little bit of give to them, which is very fun because when you roll these dice, it's very weird because they're silent and they don't have that clicky clack sound because they're silicone, and they fucking bounce. Like if you throw this into a rolling tray or a hard surface, like straight down, it's gonna bounce straight up, which is a very fun way to roll dice. So I picked up a set of these. I think they were like 15 bucks. Am I going to use them every single time? Probably not, because I don't want them bouncing all over the table. But if I have, like if I'm as a DM, probably not, because I'd be rolling tons of dice. As a player, I used these in our DRAGONBANE playtest actually, and they were very fun. It was very fun to just kind of like bounce my dice instead of rolling them. I don't know. Maybe that's a weird thing to have that much fun with, but I'm a simple man, okay? It doesn't take much. All right, the second set, which as you can hear are a more traditional set of dice, a more traditional set of clicky clackies. Where did these come from? Foam Brain Games is where these came from, and these are hand polished liquid cord dice. So these ones Mallory picked up. I don't know if this is gonna read on camera at all. Oh yeah, you can kind of see. Oh, wow, look at that. There's all kinds of sparkles and shit inside of it. This is a full set of liquid cord dice. They are very pretty. Mallory grabbed these because she's wanted a set of liquid cord dice for a while. And that's all there is to that story. So, cool. Next, I have like a weird micro game for you called Agent 299. This was literally given to me by a stranger who spoke very few words to me. He walked up to us and said something along the lines of like, you guys deserve a board game for wearing your beautiful colored shirts or something like that. And just handed me this deck of cards in a sleeve. And this is Agent 299, which is a board game. It is a very simple, like this is the whole game. This is it. I haven't actually tried to play this yet, but it's literally just this like deck of like 20 cards or so. Yeah, apparently you play it with 2 to 4 players. This card is the rules, so here you go. Focus. Great, now you know how to play the game. It's essentially a game where you're kind of like flipping up cards and getting certain abilities that either gain you victory points or lose your opponent victory points. And once all the cards are flipped up, you tally your points up, and that's it. It actually looks kind of fun, very simple, very basic. Haven't played it yet, but yeah, Agent 299 exists. Thank you, random stranger. Next here, we've got something very special that I'm very excited to talk about. A bunch of things, actually. But Mork Borg. So this is my book. I've owned this for a while. I've owned this game for like 6-7 months. I've only really started playing it the past like month or two. I didn't get this at the convention, but it was there. Mork Borg had a big presence with Free League Publishing. This is a cool book. It's a cool game. I mean, I don't know. Let's open it to a random page. Maybe not that one. I don't want to get demonetized. Look at that. That looks sweet. What else is in here? This is your ability score thing. There's all kinds of different crazy artwork in there. If you haven't heard of Mork Borg before, I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it. But basically, it is an OSR, old school role-playing, inspired, rules light, kind of dungeon crawler, brutalist combat game with an aesthetic that is very heavily inspired by heavy metal. It's very easy to die in this game, and that's part of the fun because you roll your characters entirely randomly. Every character, if you're playing rules as written anyways, is entirely randomly generated by using a series of like 5 or 6 different tables. Even your class is randomly determined, and your abilities within that class are also randomly determined by picking from a pool of that class's abilities. And to put it into context, like a lot of games say, oh, it's like dark and gritty and it's easy to die. In Mork Borg, if you go down to less than 0 hit points, you are instantly dead. And if you go down to exactly 0, you roll a d4. And the best case scenario, I believe, is on a 1. You recover after a couple rounds and you have 1 hit point. And if you roll a 4, you still just die. And the other 2 options involve like dismemberment and bad things happening to you. You don't die, you survive, but you're permanently fucked up. And just to kind of nail this point, it is possible to roll a character with 1 hit point. More than likely, you're going to end up with like 4 to 5 hit points, but it's possible to have 1 HP. So you know, you might just fall down a well and just instantly die, and hey, that's life, roll up a new character. Now with all that said, I picked up a few Mork goodies that I'm very excited to talk about. The first one is the Mork Dungeon Master screen, which I haven't opened yet, so give me a second here. While I'm failing to open this, I will mention I recently did part 1 of 2 of a stream over on How to RPG, or no, it was Wally DM's channel. How to RPG was there, and so was AJ Pickett, and so was Wally, obviously. And a couple other guests from the D&D Roundtable crew, and basically we ran the first part of a dungeon crawl and made characters. And it was so funny because we do these streams, or rather they've been doing these streams of playing RPGs other than D&D and kind of exploring different RPGs that are out there, and taking 2 hours for character creation on the first stream and then doing another 2-hour like one shot on a second stream. And I said to Fred, How to RPG, when he asked me if I wanted to run Mork for them, because he knew that I was way down the Mork rabbit hole, I said to him, I was like, you know, it's only going to take us probably 45 minutes to roll up characters, and that's with a group of new players who have never played before. And so we were able to actually roll up characters and get to playing, and we played for like an hour. Like half of the stream was actually us getting into the dungeon and playing. And that's how fast-paced this game is. So just throwing that out there. Anyways, this is the Mork Dungeon Master screen. I like it a lot. Look at how crazy cool all of this artwork is. I'm a big fan, and it's very useful because on the inside of it, it has a lot of the stuff that you need. Like, this is pretty much all of the rules that the Dungeon Master needs to reference. And like, I've seen lots of DM screens over the years. Every big box D&D product always comes with a new screen. And this is one of the best Dungeon Master screens I've seen in a while. Part of that is because the game is so simple. But yeah, basically this just has everything you need inside of it. It also came with this extra card that has a list of traps and random tables on one side, including like not just a trap for how you triggered it and what the trap is and its effects, but also who built the trap, which I think is a very fun random table to have. And also on the back, it has a thing about drinking at an inn. So those are like less likely to come up than a lot of the other rules, but I like that it came with that quick reference sheet. I think that's neat. So definitely grab that. The next thing I want to talk about is the Mork Cult Ferratory. This is a really neat, oh man, look at how the eyes are glowing in the camera. That's wild. They're actually like this embossed matte, like aluminum paint shit. I don't know. But yeah, that's fun. Anyways, Mork Cult Ferratory. This is like a micro book, a zine as the kids call them nowadays. Is that right? Am I dating myself? Am I a boomer now? Oh god. Anyways, the Mork Cult is, if you go to morkborg.com, I want to say, I think it's a .com, maybe it's .gov, I don't know, maybe they're running for office, but on the Mork website they have a list of all the homebrew stuff that they really like that has been submitted to them. If you submit homebrew stuff, could be classes, adventures, new weapons, new monsters, whatever, and they like it, they will put it up on their website and sometimes even get some like original art done by their artists and lay it all out so it looks cool and like Mork. This is basically a greatest hits version of all the community content that they've collected. So in this book, you've got classes, you've got, I think there actually might only be one class, but you've got classes, new objects, a couple adventures, all kinds of new stuff for the game that is laid out in the Mork style and basically ready to hit the table. As well, it's not just community content. I believe there's a few things also from the creators of the game in here too, but yeah, that's what this is. Also, what came with this, like bundled in the back because it was wrapped up in plastic, is Dark Fort. Dark Fort, for those who don't know, Mork or Merkborg, however you pronounce it in the proper language, means Dark Fort. And that is what this is. This is like a single player micro game that was originally created and eventually spun out into Mork. This is the whole game. It's this one sheet of paper, like front, back, or front, back, and side pages. And they translated it into English, and this is and basically recreated the original micro game that kind of created this. And then this is a bunch of character sheets for that micro game. I haven't really had a chance to check that out yet, but I'm excited to give it a shot. It looks fun. And that was just kind of like a fun little bonus that came with our Cult Ferratory there. And in much the same vein as the Mork Borg Cult Ferratory, we have the Mork Borg Cult Heretic. Oh, and this one's got that weird shiny embossment on the flames down here. Very cool. This book is the same as the thing that I was just showing you, except it's different content. It's the same idea though. It's stuff that was created by the Mork Borg cult, aka the online community, as well as a few things included from the original creators. And like, when I say that these can contain anything, like, yeah, of course you have your standard RPG stuff, classes, races. Well, I guess races aren't really much of a thing in Mork Borg, but classes, weapons, different rules for different things. This one has some optional feat rules and other character advancement stuff in it. Like, yeah, that's all fine, but Mork Borg really likes to push the boundaries of even like what RPG content is. The graphic design and the layout and the art is just as important to this game as the rules are. So much so that like there is a poem on the back of it, and they really don't waste any space. Like every single page is just chock full of information, and then like they even have foldouts and stuff like that. Like it's wild. But yeah, so content for Mork Borg doesn't necessarily even have to be rules. It can be a poem. So that's kind of neat. And then attached much the same way that our original little Dark Fort micro game was attached to the back, this one includes this. Oh god. This is like a big ass thing. It's a poster with all kinds of artwork on it, which are meant to depict different rooms, I believe. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a dungeon. Okay, so there's stats for monsters on this thing. There's different rules for things that happen in a room, very like kind of plainly written out, but all this artwork is absolutely wild. And that's what I love about Mork Borg, is it challenges what you think an RPG product even is. Like, of course this doesn't look like a dungeon at first glance, but when you think about it, like, you know, anything can be a dungeon. Why not? We're gonna slap it on a giant poster and fuck it, who cares if it's in the standard format of what people are used to seeing. I don't know. I think that's very fun. And I don't know how to fold this back up. Oh god. Everything is terrible. That. I did it. But yeah, so that also came with Heretic. I think it's neat. I haven't had a chance to actually read through that one as much as I have the others, so I'm excited to check it out and really see how all that works. Again, not a review, just some cool stuff I bought. And speaking of cool stuff, I want to show you guys now maybe one of my favorite things I've purchased, not just at this Gen Con, but like at any convention ever. And that is another Mork Borg product. I went hard on the Mork Borg, as you can tell. And that is the Putrescent Regent, a Mork Borg bog crawl, but it's a dungeon crawl. And it looks like this. This is an album, okay? So this is the front of our dungeon crawl book, or whatever you want to call it. Some very cool artwork there of this guy just getting absolutely fucked up by this longsword. You look at the back, we've got a song list, okay? You open this up and look at this. There's our map. Okay, so this is the region in which this adventure takes place. There's information about it. On this side, we've got like a random encounter table. We've got random events happening here, the miasma encounter table, I guess. I don't know what that's about, but I'm sure I'll find out when I decide to run this. We've got rules about capsizing and drowning in your boat. That's fine. And then in the first thing here, sleeve, whatever, we've got the Putrescent Regent, a Mork Borg bog crawl. So this is the actual adventure book, right? Very big, very interesting to look at. Look at all this stuff. Okay, this is wild to me. We have the actual adventure itself, where it goes, where it takes place, what the dungeon looks like. So this is kind of like a less detailed version of your map that has like keys and locations everywhere everything is. That's very cool. I like that. There's a giant flesh ball that I presume our players are going to be murdered by if they can even make it there in the first place. And yeah, on the back as well. Again, no wasted space. We're very economical with our space here. The graphic design in Borg, as always, is impeccable. So, that's great. And of course, as I mentioned, this is literally an album. That's not like a bit where it's just, oh, it's a big square that looks like an album. This is, if I can get it out, a metal album. Look at this. Look at this shit. This is so wild to me, right? These are all like random encounter tables on the back. This is just kind of like a more interesting version of a zoomed in section of the map. But there is a vinyl in here. And look at this vinyl. This looks sick. This is beautiful. I'm a sucker for a transparent vinyl. So, I'm gonna pop this in my my turntable and see what this actually has in store. I'm sure I can find this music like digitally online somewhere. I don't know, but I'm excited to pop it on and see what happens, and not just that, but play it while I run this adventure for my gaming group. This is crazy. This is so sick. This is one of those ideas that people say, wouldn't it be so fun if we did like a metal album and it was also like a D&D adventure or a Borg adventure? And everyone says, yeah, that would be cool. And then they said, all right, well, let's fucking do it. Anyways, I'm just becoming a giant Borg simp now. Are we just a Borg channel now? Is that what we're doing? Well, we can't just be a Borg channel now because there's something else we need to talk about. And that is a Borg product, but it is Pirate Borg. This is something I'm also exceptionally excited about. Okay, so this is, here's the book, Pirate Borg. A very, like, thick, like, I say thick, but in comparison to, hold on. This is our, like, standard Borg book, right? So, like, I don't know. It's hard to kind of tell on camera, but there's like a good amount of content here. I'm not holding them evenly. There we go. This is a thick-ass book. It feels much thicker than the base Borg book, which, again, isn't talking shit about that. The reason this is so much thicker is because not only does it contain all the same, like, level and quality of rules as the original Borg book does, there's also a pretty cool adventure in here. And there's like a lot of additional stuff. Like there are rules for magical sea shanties that your character can learn and how that affects the game. There are rules for naval combat. There are rules for all kinds of neat stuff that is piratey and pirate related, but while still keeping that rules light feel of Borg. I say, like, I just said rules a bunch of times as if I don't want to give you the wrong impression. This is not bogged down in a ton of rules because that's something we all like about Borg is how rules light it tends to be. It's more so just like the stuff you would want to be added to Borg to make it work as a pirate fantasy game is in here. So if you want to play a dark alternate history Pirates of the Caribbean campaign, you can do that. Is it Caribbean or Caribbean? But yeah, so like again, this keeps the same Borg style of, you know, there's your map of the dark Caribbean. You're saying like crazy graphic art style of like these. This is one of the classes, for example, the Rapscallion. And like this is your bestiary, you know, all these different crazy layouts and stuff like that. It keeps that same spirit alive. The graphic design is very much in line with what you expect from Borg. Here's our opening page for the adventure, The Curse of Skeleton Point. It does a great job of keeping the spirit of Borg alive, but as a pirate adventure, okay? So I invested in this heavy. I haven't had a chance to play this myself, so again, not a review, but a first impression, I guess. I've read through most of this. I really like it. I'm very excited by it. Also, what came with that in the back was just kind of like a bigger version of that map that I showed you a second ago. Ba-boom. There it is. And then on the back, there's another map of a specific island. So that's rad. We've got that. Also, what I got is another one of these like little zines. I love this whole I don't know, is that a thing, zine thing of adding content to your game without being like, here's a big ass new book for you to look through. Don't get me wrong, I love a big ass new book from time to time, but it's nice to be like, oh, what is this? This whole thing is 22 pages. That's great. This is specifically, it's actually an adventure for Pirate Borg. It's, you know, you've got kind of your adventure area, map on the first page, buried in the Bahamas. We love to see it. There's some stuff about how to run it. You know, you've got like your NPCs, creatures, etc., etc. What I like about this, the centerfold of this book, zine thing, is a map. This is a handout, okay? You can unclip these staples, pop this out, close them back up so your shit doesn't fall apart, and give that to your players. So this is literally like a map, and it's kind of done in that old school style, like treasure map, you know, like, oh, we've got this referencing here, and like there's a little path, there's a stain on it, the circle, you know, some writing on the bottom. It is relevant to the adventure. I won't get deep into it in case you want to play this as a player at some point. Don't want to spoil it for you. But on the back of the first half of this, you have a raft, because at some point the players will be on a raft, potentially. So there's your battle map. Okay, it's just on the back of that. And then, whoop, we're going to flip this over. Whoop. On the other side of, you know, same centerfold piece, on the other side of that, you have a map of the island that you're going to be on for part of this adventure. Okay, so that is extremely cool to me. I like this. I like this little adventure. I think that's wonderful. Next up, also part of Mork, we have the Battle of Dead Man's Cove. Ba-boom. It is like a pamphlet, okay? I will unfold this. This is the whole thing. This is the back of the whole thing. So this is a scenario. Like, this is an encounter. This was not very expensive. I can't remember off the top of my head how much this was, but I think it was like $4 or maybe $3. I don't remember. It's this neat little thing. It's got a little map. It's a naval combat encounter. So if you're playing Pirate Borg and you're like, you know what? I want to spend a few bucks and get a really sweet, like, awesome, fleshed out... Sorry, I'm fanning myself. It's so hot in here. A really fleshed out, thought out, original encounter with some, like, high quality art and a layout and all that stuff. This is sick. I love shit like this. I wish we had more stuff like this for other RPGs. Also in here, we have character sheets. There's nothing crazy to get into, but this is your Mork Borg character sheet, or your Pirate Borg character sheet, rather. It's in the plastic wrap, so it's, yeah, there we go. The light's not catching it. I'm not going to open this right now because I don't need to. But yeah, this is just a big old stack of character sheets that I bought because I like fancy shit, and it's fun. This is the Pirate Borg reference card decks. So these are going to be all of your creatures, ships, rituals, and relics, it says. Contains 128 scurvy-infested cards for use with Pirate Borg, 20 ancient relics, 20 arcane rituals, 18 vessels and ships, 4 archetype captains and crews, 3 naval combat rules cards, and 63 creatures including beasts, undead, sea monsters, and more. So, again, like the deck of Avatar cards, this isn't essential to play the game by any means, but it's just quick reference cards. So you have an item, you have a card that says what it is and what it does. As a DM, oh, I can quickly reference the creatures, so when I'm building my encounters, I don't have to like put bookmarks in my book. I can literally just make a stack of cards and be like, these are the 5 creatures we're gonna use throughout this dungeon, and quickly look at them that way. I forgot about this guy. This is just a sticker. It's a Pirate Borg sticker. I'm a big sucker for stickers. I have a filing cabinet down here with a ton of stickers on it, so I'm gonna slap this bad boy on there after. Forgot I even bought that, but I'm a fan. And lastly, it's in the Pirate Borg bag, but this isn't a Pirate Borg specific thing. This is just another set of dice because I just bought a bunch of dice while I was at this convention. I bought these because I thought they were kind of piratey. Look at those bad boys. Very cool. I cannot remember the company that I got these from. I'm very sorry, but I mean, if you really want to know, I'll leave a comment with the comment. Let me know if you're interested in these dice. But I just like them because they're bronze cast. They look like pirate dice. So that's that. So that's it for Pirate Borg and Mork Borg. I'm very excited about all of the stuff I was able to get for those 2 lovely RPGs. I'm excited to take them. Give them a rip. Take them for a rip, as they say. You know how it is. Okay, final bag of stuff. This is stuff that mostly, I think almost all of this, if not all of it, was given to me. This is our merch bag. Wow, nerd immersion. Who would have thought? This is literally just a bag of stuff that was given to me by other creators. Most of it is Ted from Nerd Immersion related. He gave me this mug and this sticker and these pencils. What do you guys think Ted's favorite color is? Let me know in the comments. He also gave me this bag and this notebook. Just, you know, all kinds of fun merch. He was giving this shit out like candy. So, you know, if you were lucky enough to see Ted at the convention, then you probably have some of this stuff too. Also from Total Party Chill, they gave me these lovely stickers. This is this one sticker and this patch, which I'm a big fan of. I want to stick that on something fun. So shouts out to Total Party Chill. And from Taryn gave me, Taryn meaning Indestructiboy, gave me a few things. He gave me a physical copy of his 5th edition classes. So we have a copy of the Merchant, we have a copy of the Dancer, we have a copy of the Alchemist, and we have a copy of the Vanguard. Again, not a review video, but shouts out to Taryn. All of these products are very cool, and I've spoken to him over the year, question mark, multiple years? I don't know. I've spoken to him over the amount of time while he's been developing these, and all the artwork and stuff is insanely beautiful. Like, I mean, okay, I found 4 pages in a row that didn't have art on them. But look at this! That's cool as fuck! I want to put that in my game. I'd recommend checking all this stuff out on, I believe, DriveThruRPGs, where he hosts all this stuff. The Merchant specifically, Ginny D just really recently did a whole video breaking down this class, what it does, and kind of how you might want to play it, and a few different ways you could play it. I would highly recommend watching her video on it. You know where to find it. It's Ginny D's channel. I'll leave a link somewhere. But yeah, she gets way into it. So if you're interested in checking out these classes, I would highly recommend watching that video. And that'll give you a good idea of the kind of design you can expect from Taryn, because it's good design. Also in here, I have, this wasn't even like con related. This was just a thing that Taryn gave me because Indestructiboy is a treasured friend of mine. This is a puzzle box. And as you can see, it you basically need to line up the letters, and theoretically it opens. So the cool thing about that is that he tried to set it to my name to say Josiah, and then it didn't open. So I don't know what combination opens this or what's inside of it. So that's just like a fun little puzzle that I get to try and figure out. I put in my name, and immediately when he gave it to me, he was like, oh, just like kind of for fun. He was like, oh yeah, that's the combination. And then it didn't open. So we're going to find out what happens with that. Anyways, I want to put that away for now. The only other thing I think I've got in here, oh yeah, is this little bag with a bunch of these in them. I mean, they're all different, but these are True Dungeon tokens. If you do not know what True Dungeon is basically like a LARP escape room where you can go and battle with up to 10 of your friends through a literal like dungeon, and you kind of have to go from room to room and solve puzzles or do combat. And it was a ton of fun. I was lucky enough to do that with a bunch of awesome folks. I think we started at 11 at night. We were in the latest time slot, and we finished at like 1 in the morning. There's a picture of all of us after we won, which we did succeed. I think with only 1 death, maybe 2. That doesn't matter. We did succeed, and we were all very tired. I think we have a picture of the aftermath of that, of us all just being super tired, which I'll throw up somewhere here. I'm not going to throw up. I will put it up on the screen for you to look at. But yeah, True Dungeon was a ton of fun. I feel very lucky that I got to be a part of that with all those fantastic people. And that brings us, I think, to the end of this video. At least to the end of talking about stuff I bought. That was all the stuff that I picked up at GenCon, both given to me and purchased. I'm very excited. I have a lot of very cool RPGs and board games to play over the next few weeks, months, and hopefully years. So, I don't know. For those of you who were at GenCon, I got to meet a lot of folks, viewers, who just came up to me and said, oh, Dungeon Dad, whatever. And I took a picture of a few folks. If you were one of those folks, it was a pleasure to meet you. Everyone was super kind, super cool. And I had a lot of fun getting to interact with some of you guys. That was very fun for me. This is like the first Gen Con I've ever been to. The first major con. I think the biggest con I've been to beside this one was PAX last year. So yeah, as always, I was just super humbled that anyone even recognized me, let alone wanted to take a picture with me. So that was a lot of fun. yeah, if I am always of the mind that I'm there to kind of interact with you guys and meet people. So if you ever see me at a con, don't feel weird or bad about coming up and saying hi. I am happy to do so, happy to take a picture or just chat. Also, speaking of taking pictures, I got to meet Brennan Lee Mulligan while I was there. That was surreal. Ted and I got a photo with him where we're both just kind of like, oh my god, and he put on like the biggest Brennan Lee Mulligan ass smile I've ever seen. So that was very cool. He was a very kind human being. Other than that and the True Dungeon stuff, basically the highlights of the trip were just kind of meeting a lot of other creators and connecting with people. And it was a ton of fun. The best 4 days in gaming, as they say. I'm just rambling, so I think we're going to end the video here. Thanks for watching. If you want to see a more in-depth review of any of the stuff I talked about today, or even you want to see like some actual play stuff of the game being played to get a better idea of how it works and how it runs, let me know. I might do some more in-depth reviews of this stuff once I've had more time with it, because as always, you always start to learn what you really like and what you maybe don't like as much with a new game once you've spent like 50 hours with it. So yeah, I guess that's it. I hope you have a great day. Till the next one.